Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. Let's turn it down to a sensible volume. How are we all doing? I hope we're doing very, very well. I'm not in the middle there, am I? There we go. And I figured that I'm going to get back on the trying to do a stream a day thing, but in this specific case, that means doing a very, very, very short stream right now. I finished work literally 5 minutes ago, so I'm now swinging into a quick stream on Max Wober stuff before I need to run over to the in-laws for a Sunday roast. But I thought there was something reasonably interesting to discuss here with the Max Wober situation. So, if I can bring up the relevant bit of news that I'm looking for. It helps if you know how to read. It does. Hello, Wayne. Dr. Cook says Wober can go for me. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I do think that, as Worst Leeds United channel said, he's fairly good depth, I'd say. We are doing... yeah, give or take. But we'll take it. It's fine. But anyway, got to get into it relatively sharpish just to discuss everything. So, this was a little bit of a article that was popped out. Specifically, I'm going to source who actually did the interview rather than Leeds United.news, because that's one of those aggregators that just sort of scrapes the internet for anything that says Leeds United and then goes, oh, article. But in this instance, he was asked specifically by a Austrian newspaper named Salzburger Nachrichten if he could leave Leeds in January. And his response was relatively short and sharp and simple, which was fine for me, with his response being that he is only focusing on getting fit, and he does understand why Daniel Farke isn't starting him. So the specific words that he said were in German, or Austrian. Is Austrian a language, or is it like a dialect of German? I'm going to actually have to Google this. German is the official language of Austria. There we go. He said, things are going really well. I understand the coach. No reason to change anything. I have to stay patient, work hard, but I'm not thinking about a transfer at all. It hasn't been an issue. The focus is on getting fit, which is completely fair. He's in a position where he knows that he sort of has to wait his turn. If he is from, at the moment, basically the outside looking into the rest of the back line, A, he's been injured a hell of a lot. Obviously, that means you're not going to be starting games of football. B, that sort of combos in with the fact that the back line is really, really, really good right now. I'm going to take a very quick look at our statistics for the season so far, but we've genuinely been very, very good. Expected goals against of 8.4, which is just slightly more than half a goal a game, which is an obscene rate to be defending at. That's genuinely incredible. So if you're Wober from the outside looking in, you probably go, no, you know what? Fair enough. I completely understand Daniel Farke's perspective on this, because they have deserved to retain their roles within the squad, and I haven't quite forced my way in yet. However, this combines with the fact that you've got a potential minor issue going on with Max Wober, who is someone that is currently in the Austria squad. And yes, he's an integral part of that, because even when he wasn't 100%, he was getting called in. That's wild to me. But, and this is a pretty big but, and I cannot lie, you other mothers can't deny, that if Austria do qualify for the World Cup in the USA and Mexico and Canada, but let's be honest, it's the World Cup in the USA, he's desperately going to want to be there. It's the same case as a Brendan Aronson or an Autanaka, who I completely understand them going to be part of their national teams right now, because in 18 months or so, there's a selection process for a World Cup. And that seems, hello Iris, that seems like a very, very, very long time. But in terms of football, it's not that much. It's a season and a little bit, which could mean that some players are very, very, very desperately trying to prove themselves to their national team, Wober being an example. That's where we potentially get issues, because I think that if he does get some, hello again, if he does get some minutes at Leeds United in the coming however long, so for the rest of the season, say, then I can completely see him staying at Leeds. But I also see that in the 25-26 season, you're in a position where everyone is going to need to get minutes to show that they are on decent enough form. And if we hit that point and Strauch and Rodon have somehow stayed fit for the entire season, haven't needed to be replaced, and you've not had any Max Wober, then things start to be a little bit of a problem for him. At that stage in the process, Wober potentially goes, well, I'm going to need to play some football if I want to play for Austria. And let's be honest, he does want to play for Austria, because why wouldn't you? That's why he's gone now, because there's a national team waiting for him, calling him up, and even if he is semi-injured, they're going to want to see him around. They're going to want to see that he is genuinely 100% committed to the side. So then you get into a little bit of an issue where he's going to maybe force a move next summer if he sees that there's no way in. Because we'll probably need to sign a centre-back next summer. Let's be completely honest about that. Rodon and Strauch is a decent, very, very good pairing in the Championship. Strauch might be able to make the leap up. Rodon might be able to make the leap up. But to get to the Premier League and stay there, we've learned that you need very, very solid centre-backs. Because we thought Koch and Llorente will probably do a job. They ended up not doing said job, and we got relegated. Admittedly due to quite a lot of structural and tactical stuff, but we ended up going down, which isn't where we want to be. Yes. So I think no matter what, if we do get promoted, we're going to have to sign someone. And I think that probably knocks Wober out of the side, because if you're looking at next season and you're saying, right, Leeds United have Rodon and Strauch and Wober, and then De Bayo is potentially going to come through at some point, maybe not yet, but Wober doesn't see his place in that team. Which means that going forward, we could very likely see him leaving. You're making it very, very hard to do a stream right now. So basically, in spite of what Wober said about how he knows that he has to force his way into the side, and he knows that he's been injured, and he's just focusing on staying fit. I can see her staring at me in like the preview thing, and I'm not looking. If I look, she'll keep doing this. But I think going into the future, he sees that his long-term future is very probably not at Leeds. So whilst he's saying that this season, probably to get the fans on board, and just in case he gets plenty of minutes in the back half of the season, I think if we stay relatively lucky with injuries in the centre-back positions, that's probably the end of Max Wober at Leeds United. But at the end of the day, that is all just what I think. I'm going to whack up a questions corner if I can find one in my, there we go, in my existing banners, just to say that let's have a little bit of a chat. I won't be streaming for very long, maybe another 10 minutes or so, purely because I need to get across Blackpool to have a roast dinner. But yeah, basically, as much as he says that he's currently at Leeds United and is enjoying his time at Leeds United, we all know that in the world of football, things can change very, very, very quickly. And I hope that they don't have to, but I see he's not going to stay in the Championship for another season. If we get promoted and he's not had many minutes, he's not going to stick around. He'd have to very genuinely impress in what is left of the season in order to force his way into the side and ultimately remain at Leeds, which I don't really see happening. And that's the general gist. But again, if anyone's got any questions or anything, pop them in the chat. We'll have a talk about them. If we get promoted, we should sign a guy like Brentford's Christopher Ayer, who's proven and absolutely massive. Yeah, it'll be someone along those lines. It will be a go up, okay, properly invest in centre-backs, because whilst there is the situation of Leeds went up the first time and we signed Rafinha, and Rafinha was arguably one of the biggest reasons that we went like 9th, you can't always just invest in attackers. So it will be a matter of invest in the right places intelligently, Fandabidozi. And that's specifically at the back, because if you look at any team that gets relegated, it won't be the fact that they struggle going forward that gets them down. It will be the fact that they're defensively horrible. So we're going to need to cover ourselves just to be safe, I think. There's a young centre-back that wants to play for Leeds and looks a potentially good player. Sorry, I can't think of his name. I've got no idea who you're referring to. I'll be completely honest with you. No one initially comes to mind. But I'll have to think that one over. I think we'll need 2 centre-backs if we go up, as we know strokes injuries are late. Yeah. We'll need, at the very least, a bit of cover. We want to make sure that Ampadu is ideally set in one position rather than needing to cover 2 of them, because that was an issue in the past. Nikolai Hopland. I've never heard of Nikolai Hopland. Years old. Plays for Heerenveen on loan from Arlesund. Why would you be on loan? Currently playing his trade at Heerenveen. Regular start for the Dutch outfit. Impressed with his performances. Highly rated across Europe. Interesting to see if Leeds make a move. I wouldn't mind that. It doesn't look awful. This is right. Okay. So this is daft, and you know that this is daft because the German and Spanish leagues ain't bad leagues. The German and Spanish leagues are better than the French league. Let's set that as the baseline. This is France. Germany and Spain are above it. Premier League is above it, but ish. Like, you know, it's got a higher average level of quality, but the ceiling is approximately the same as La Liga. Now, there's a very, very good player that we signed the last time we got promoted, and we signed him from Ligue 1 club, Rennes. So I feel like saying, let's not sign anyone from the German or Spanish leagues is a little bit wild. Because they can be completely fine. It's about the player that we sign rather than where we sign them from. And I think that's a little bit of a thing that we're a little bit too good at dancing into as Leeds fans, of going, we signed someone from this league and they were shit. Because that's not going to be the case. Yeah, but again, that's sure. That's an issue with the players that we signed rather than where we signed them from. Because at the same time, if we would have signed... Who's coming to mind? No one is coming to mind. If we would have signed someone like Koch from Bournemouth or something, at that point you're not saying, let's not sign anyone from Germany or Spain. At that point you're saying, okay, Koch didn't work out. Let's keep that in mind next time. That's like saying, don't sign anyone with a phallic name. It's a wild take, I think. Especially when everyone is shouting about Nikolai Hopland, who is at an even worse league, which is the Eredivisie. It's not a good division. That's why I'm a little bit, on the ruling out entire leagues, I think. We still need Firpo from Spain. We've got Firpo from Spain. What? Firpo's been doing very well. Everyone bar Rafinha and maybe Rodrigo we signed were shit. George, he wasn't, but I would argue that more came from the championshipness. He took his time to mature into it. Outside that, should we do that? Should we have a look and see who we signed when we went up? Leeds United 2020/21 signings. Let's have a look. In the Premier League. Oh, I know. I'm checking Premier League signings now. Let's have a look. Rodrigo. Decent, to be honest. He scored something like firmly in the double figures. I can't remember how many. 2022/23 goals. Rodrigo, Leeds United, 22/23 goals. 13 in the Premier League. Not bad, let's be honest. We also signed We signed fewer players than I thought we did there. So Rodrigo, who decent enough, sure. Jean-Kevin Augustin, let's not get into that conversation. That was a mess. Diego Llorente, fair enough. Not brilliant. Rafinha, fantastic player. Incredible. Helder Costa, we signed him from Wolves. Still not ideal. Koch, not brilliant. Again, Bundesliga. Ilya Melia from Ligue 1, who I would say has played quite a lot of decent football for us, and then Gelhardt from Wigan. I don't mind that. I'll be completely honest with you. Like, just when you're looking at it, I mean, in theory, you're saying that like Liga is the best league for us to sign players from, which is incredible. Let's have a look at 21-22. In 21-22, we signed Dan James. Jesus, I forgot we spent £25 million on Dan James. Junior Firpo from Barca for €15 million and Jack Harrison for £10 million. Again, not fantastic. Forgot about Melia. Melia is technically a championship signing because it was a loan and then we decided to exercise an option. But that next season, Dan James I'd call a decent signing, but he wasn't really in the Premier League for us. Firpo came good, I would say, from La Liga. Jack Harrison from the Premier League. Bit of a wanker now. Then Christopher Clausen. Leo Hjelde we got from Celtic B, which I didn't know of. And then Somerville and Greenwood, etc., etc., etc. Let's have a look at the 22-23 season to round out our look at Leeds United's Premier League era signings. Jorginho Rutter from the Bundesliga cost a hell of a lot of money. Let's not forget that. But again, from the German Bundesliga. Sinisterra from the Eredivisie played pretty well. Are we just learning that signing from Holland is the way to go? Brendan Aronson was in. Oh, this is where you get the little whoopsie, don't you? Because everyone was saying that the German Bundesliga is crap, and that's why we have problems. Aronson, Christensen, and Wober were signed from the Austrian Bundesliga, which changes things up a little bit. Then you got Rocker, who was signed from the Bundesliga, but obviously I don't entirely know why we signed him. He didn't really suit Jesse Marsch. Then Nonto from Switzerland, and I forgot about Weston McKennie. Oh God, and Joel Robles from La Liga. Cine, Tyler Adams. Right, I think anyone that looks at Sinisterra's time at Leeds and says that he was a bad player for us is probably lying to themselves to cope with the fact that he was very, very good. The issue is that he left like a wanker. The Dutch have some good players, some work out, some don't. But that's the same with Germany and Spain, right? Like, it comes down to individual players regardless of the league that you're talking about. Which adds a little bit of complexity to it. It makes it a little bit difficult to think. And then beyond that, what's Helder Costa doing now? He plays in Liga Portugal for Estoril. I don't even know the other time. We could have got Gakpo. We didn't, and we absolutely could not have gotten Gakpo. At that point, I think the Gakpo conversation was very much overblown by Radrizzani looking in retrospect, because if you consider the fact that he ended up going to Liverpool rather than Leeds, or like even like a Brighton or something, it feels like at the very least, even if he did have an agreement with us, it turned into are you genuinely sure about this, Cody? Are we certain? Costa was not worth 17 million. Absolutely. McKennie wasn't signed under Bielsa. Important note to make. Costa was not worth 17 million in the slightest. But I mean, he helped get us promoted, I guess. But that's a sign that like promotion isn't necessarily dependent on, not promotion, sorry. the level of a signing isn't dependent on where you sign them from, because, as we mentioned earlier, Christopher Ajer would be a great signing from the Premier League. Costa was an overpriced signing that ended up not playing for us from the Premier League. Like, you got to look at the people rather than you got to look at the clubs, I think. People think of Sinisterra as bad because he wasn't as good as Rafinha. I think people look at Sinisterra as bad because I think it's not because he wasn't as good as Rafinha. I think it's because he was constantly injured. And that means that he wasn't available for us when we could have really done with a decent winger coming off the bench and trying to make a little bit of a difference. Like, you got that from Rafinha, who started like every week. He didn't miss games for us, really. He did like a touch at points, but he was very consistent. He's a Wally overpaid for some trust. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Not really wrong. He feels like the kind of guy that played Football Manager and went, oh, this must be real in the real world as well. It's not. You just sort of made shit up, and it didn't work. But thankfully, he's not here anymore. I wonder how Sevilla are doing right now. They are 13th in the Liga. He's surprisingly still employed, I think. Is he? Yeah, he's currently sporting director of Sevilla. Jesus. Who let that happen? Jesse Bielsa, easy mistakes to make. Absolutely. Sinisterra was a good player. We never had a chance to watch him play on a regular basis. Yeah, it's an availability problem more than it is a talent problem with Sinisterra. Anyway, I'm going to drag us back over to Questions Corner. I'll do one more question-y, comment-y thing, and then I will call the stream there because I need to run across town and eat some delicious food, which would be very nice. And the chat is devolving into, Jesus Christ, remember the bad days. I don't want to remember the bad days. It makes me sad. Am I watching England versus Ireland? When are England playing Ireland? What? Oh shit, 5 o'clock. Also this, but I'm choosing to not let Super dwell on that stuff because I'm giving Joe the space that he might need right now, if that makes sense. Pigeon or partridge? Pigeon, every day of the week. And it's at 5 p.m. I might watch it in that case, I'm not 100% sure. Genuinely hilarious that you don't think Jack Grealish is scoring twice against you. Is Jack Grealish even there? I don't know. Oh, neither of the very English boys are starting. That's a shame. Anyway, I love just looking down this and going, wow, okay, Ireland, you really just are a bottom half championship side, aren't you? What a joke. Anyway, I'm going to call it there because I need to genuinely go and do things. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, just like and subscribe if you're not yet. That's always really appreciated. Or become a channel member. It's 99p a month and you get videos and stuff early, basically as soon as I've filmed them / edited them when it comes to Balls Knowledge. And you get the extended Balls Knowledge. And you can be on Balls Knowledge. This week's Balls Knowledge has been pushed back a bit because I've had some filming issues. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, subscribe, comment, membership, all that fun stuff. And I will see you later. Doodle.